So today I want to just talk about making abstracts and playing with stuff we already have. So I've been cleaning in my studio and I have these supplies that I've had a long time, and some of the stuff I do use a lot, but I also have lots of collage scraps that I just have from making art, and just painted pieces I've done and torn up and things like that. These are all good things that I sometimes will throw into an abstract, and you know, pieces of palette paper that are interesting and good colors and things. And then I have I taught a workshop on the weekend and we made color wheels, but you know, I don't need another one of these, and I have my swatching book for all that stuff. So I'm gonna start going through, like I have these dried out Gelli gouache, and I threw water in them. I have no idea if these are gonna work, but we're gonna try. And then I have some old Caran Neo 1s, which I really love, and I'm gonna do some mixed media stuff, but I want to get an abstract started. I have tons of acrylic paint, and I want to do some mixed media things with all my different things and see what I can get going. And this is just creative play. Now we can take these and later put them into a sketchbook, or do them directly into the sketchbook, which I sometimes also do. Now a lot of people are afraid of messing up their sketchbooks because there's this thing about messing up your beautiful pages, or you don't want to ruin your sketchbook because you want everything to be perfect into it. And I understand that, but sometimes I don't really care. I play and don't worry about my sketchbook as much as some people do, but I just want to get something going, and you certainly can do it on pages like these. This was decent watercolor paper, so I thought, I can play on this and see what happens, and maybe I'll get something going here. And then I have, like, this is just other things I have, or this is just out of a magazine. So sometimes you'll see a piece of art in a magazine or something, and this just has some kind of makeup ad on the back of it, and maybe none of it will show when I'm done here. Maybe some of it'll show. I don't know. Sometimes I use them just as a piece of color. So I'm going to get started, and I'm going to be kind of random about what I put into these. But I sometimes like to add a little collage into my abstract paintings. Some of these are old paintings I cut up. And it's a good way to use them up. So I'm just going to randomly put down a little bit of collage, and today I'm using glue stick rather than matte medium, because I'm really painting with gouache rather than acrylic. If I was using acrylic paint, I'd probably go straight for the matte medium, but I'm not. So I'm just gonna let this go in, and once it's dry, I should be able to paint right over it. Now, I love using this gel prints. I just love using these in my abstracts. I think they come out really nice. I might do two at once. When you're doing two things at once, sometimes it kind of, you kind of are less precious about what happens. I think you don't think about it as much when you're going back and forth between two pieces. And I don't know if any part of those color wheels will be left when I'm done, and I don't care if they are or not. It doesn't matter to me at all. just don't want anything sticking up. I just try to get everything really squashed down. These are some of my favorite ones, I think. These are like where you clean your roller off when you're doing jelly. This isn't even a print, but I just love the way these look. These are some of my favorite things that I save when I'm doing gel prints. It's just where you clean off your brush, and they come out so... I love them. I don't really think about it too much because I know a lot of it'll get covered. I'm going to paint over so much of it that it doesn't really matter where I put it. And that's kind of the thing that you want to do. You want to kind of do it fast so you're not overthinking it. I often do these kind of abstract type pieces as a warm-up because it gets me into the mood or the mindset to make art. And there's a thing about collage that really helps you with composition, because you're able to move the pieces around, unlike when you're drawing. So if you're drawing, you really have to, you know, stop and maybe do a second one or a third one to get the composition right. But when you're working with pieces of cut paper, you can just go in and move them around, and it really is a game changer for like working with composition. So it's a really great way to work on your composition skills, and that's one of the reasons I love collage so much. And I just really love incorporating it into these mixed media abstracts and things like that, and then adding other things in, drawing and painting. And I'm completely ignoring these color wheels, although if they pop through and add a pop of color into this later, that'll be okay. It doesn't really matter. It's like the last thing I'm thinking about though right now. And these are just the acid-free glue sticks. I always have these in my studio. Although when I'm working with acrylic paint, I use matte medium pretty much exclusively, because then you can go right in and paint. Okay, so now that one, that's interesting. I like that one. I kind of really like that. This one's a little iridescent, so I thought I would add a few pieces. All right, so now I have all these Gelli gouache have been in my studio for so long, they come in these fabulous colors. Now, yeah, since I wet them, I'm able to get them to work a little bit. They're not, you know, obviously being very jelly-like, but that's okay. So I had a friend who used to teach painting, and I took several of her workshops, and one of her prompts used to be, and I'm going to share it with you, and I always thought this was a good idea, was to just say, if you were stuck, and it was a simple one, was just to look at your colors and say, what color am I craving, right? And then, you know, make a shape or a mark or something, and then just look again and say, what color am I craving? And then you just keep going in and adding another color. Okay, so now I'm craving this pink, because I love this pink color, and it mirrors the pink in my paper. I think I'm gonna switch brushes, a smaller brush, and so now I'm gonna get some of this pink, and I'm gonna come in here. You kind of just keep doing that. What color am I craving? And now I've got this pink neo color, and maybe I'll do some marks with that, because I really do like that pink. Now what color am I craving? Now the neo color is, this neo color 1 is not water soluble, and you it's very waxy and very vibrant, and you can get some resist going with it. So now I'm getting this really beautiful pale blue. And so as you go from color to color that excites you, all of a sudden you're just painting. Okay? And so that's just a way in if you don't know what to paint. And especially when you're doing abstracts, this can be really fun. You don't have to have a plan. And so this part of the painting or the process becomes very mindful, because you kind of stop thinking about the end result, and you're just choosing colors and medium, and you're hopping back and forth between, oh, do I draw here? Do I want to add some mark making? Does it need another color? What shape am I going to make next? And If you want to keep it a little cohesive, you can think about adding or using analogous colors. And and what happens if I go over something with a color like I just did? I went over it with a color I was already painting, and it just kind of blended it into that blue that I already had, and I just made a layer. And that, that's all just kind of things that start to happen. It's like a serendipitous kind of process. When you're using things that resist a little bit, that can be really exciting and fun, and you can kind of see things popping through and emerging. So what I have here is an analogous complementary color scheme. So colors in a row, blue and through green and yellow green, and then I have the complementary pop to green, which is pink or red. Red and green are complementary colors, so the pink adds kind of a dynamic pop against the green. So it's just a basic analogous color plan with a complementary pop of pink over it. And yeah, so it's just a really super simple color scheme to work with, and it's one that's always kind of soothing and harmonious, but then you get that little extra zinginess with a complementary color pop. And that's a really fun one to work with, and one I enjoy using a lot. There are so many things that we can learn from doing these types of activities and exercises about color, composition, mark making, and also about working with a limited amount of materials. So we're using up scraps, and we're using up old gouache, and just a little bit of crayons. And so we have just a few things in front of us, and how creative can we be with those limited materials? I'd love to know how you make out. Now I have on the side here the smallest amount of gold watercolor left over from a project, and I am just going to sneak some in to this because I think it'll look really cool. Now this was left over from a spread I did yesterday in my sketchbook. That was a master's study that I did. And what I did was a takeoff on Klimt, and I can show that to you. And yeah, the gold watercolor is just so much fun to work with. Now these are old. I don't even know if they make these anymore. I've had them for years, and they were from Daniel Smith, and they're just a powder, but they're absolutely gorgeous watercolors that you add just a little bit of water to them. And I've had them for so long, but they are absolutely beautiful watercolors. Now I know they make other metallic watercolors. I haven't found any as nice as this, and I've had these in my studio for about 20 years, believe it or not, and I actually bought these at Daniel Smith many years ago, right at the store. And it was so long ago that they didn't just do watercolor then, they did everything. They had a whole full service art supply store when I bought these in Seattle. And so it was quite a long time ago. But yeah, these are fabulous. And you can see, like, just adding this little bit of gold is changing this whole thing over into this kind of ethereal thing. I love it. I'm so glad I decided to add just a little bit of the gold, because it's Wow. All right, well, that was fun. And so that's that one. I don't think I'm gonna do anything else to it, except I do want to kind of embellish this little swirl I did a little bit more, I think. There. Okay, wow, love it. Okay, so that's the embellishment I did on that. And then I'm gonna go here. No, I haven't done anything with this one. Let's see where this one takes us. All right, so now I have, well, I didn't have any idea what I was gonna do with the other color scheme, so let's see. I think these are fun because you're just gonna let them take their own direction, I think. That's what's so interesting about them. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna re-wet these. I'm gonna give them another squish with my water bottle to reactivate them. Now these were bone dry when I took them out just a short while ago. So I'm gonna go back in. With my gouache. So the other thing about pulling out old materials and doing these kind of experiments is that you just learn things. So I had no idea if these old Gelli gouache were still viable. They were literally bone dry when I took them out and all cracked. So I just gave them a really good squish with my water bottle, and you know, I mainly only use them for sketchbook work anyway because they're not a high-end gouache, but they do have beautiful colors, and I love experimenting with them and using them like this for mixed media techniques. And they have really pretty colors and stuff, but I wouldn't do them if I was going to be doing a painting for resale. And the reason being is that they aren't a good quality, high-end gouache with a high pigment content, and they might fade. So I would feel bad if someone, you know, bought a painting from me and they hung it on a wall. And a lot of times your patrons or someone who's buying a painting from you, even if you give them instructions like don't hang a watercolor or gouache painting in the sunlight, they might still, you know, put it in a place where it's going to get partial sun. And if you don't have really good quality gouache or watercolor, it may fade. And it still might, even with very good quality. So you don't want to give them you know, something that's just like a student quality, because that's going to fade even faster, or it might just fade from being in a room. So, you know, in the sketchbook it's fine because it's never going to really get light unless you do a flip, you know. So that's why I probably wouldn't do anything for resale with this kind of paint or student grade paint. I actually have a really nice painting that I did as a demo, and I know I used really good watercolor for it, and it's in my studio, and it's been in my studio under glass, not by a window, and it's probably only 3 years old, and I'm so bummed out about it because I know I did it with good gouache and watercolor, and I think they were Winsor Newtons, and they had pink flowers all over them, and the pink flowers have faded to almost nothing. And I would have felt so, and it was in a show, and it was for sale, and I would have felt so bad if I had sold it and someone bought it. It makes me nervous to even sell watercolors sometimes because that can happen. And I didn't even have this in the sunlight. It just happens to be on an easel. It's not facing a window. It never gets direct sunlight, and the pink flowers faded, And now they look like little white flowers. So I'm going to have to take that thing back out of the frame and try it again with one of my other better quality gouache to see if I can fix them and see if it stays. It's troubling. So that's the only difference really between the good quality paint and the student quality paint. And I tell my students the same thing. I mean, if you're going to start selling work, you really have to be careful about your products because they can fade. The pigment ratio is different and the pigment quality is different. So I'm having so much fun making these paintings with just the collage, and I did end up saving that little piece of the color wheel because I did a very analogous palette with the greens and the blues, and I just loved how that little red pop of color came through and it was sitting in all that green. I thought it was perfect for that, and I love the gold on the last one, so I decided to put some gold embellishments on this one too. I can tell that I'm gonna be completely obsessed with the gold watercolor for a little while because I'm really having fun playing with it. Maybe that'll be my little obsession for the next few weeks, and I'll be overusing it until I get sick of it. But it was really fun. Now you can find gold metallic, and I know for a fact that you cannot get this paint anymore because it's so old. I bought it literal decades ago. So I will try to find it, but I don't hold any hope out that they still make this stuff. It's Daniel Smith powdered metallic watercolor. So the only place I think you might be able to find it is eBay if somebody has some laying around in their studio. So I hope you enjoyed this little video on using up old materials and making abstracts. Thanks for being here, and come again soon.